From the station working for you, this is Good Morning Indiana, streaming now.
Now at 4:30 today, we expect to learn more about Indiana's next steps to distribute the COVID-19 vaccine, what a local doctor recommends pregnant women consider about the vaccine.
Many people are discovering their stimulus check was sent to the wrong bank account. WRTV investigates why one tax prep company is at the center of the mishap.
And Hoosiers at risk of losing their homes thanks to a decision in the hands of state lawmakers. How one group is working fast to keep thousands of people from getting evicted. First here at 4:30, I want to thank you for joining our team on Good Morning Indiana. I'm Lauren Casey.
Now Megan Shen, of course, we have Todd Clausen in the studio with us. Todd, how's that weather looking for today?
You know, more of the same here. It's chilly, it's going to be cloudy, not much in the way of any sunshine, but no major storm systems heading our way. So I guess that's at least a little bit of good news as you walk out the door here this morning. The clouds haven't thinned much, and that's keeping the temperatures in the 30s compared to the 20s. So that is good news, at least 34 in Lafayette, 33 in Bloomington, as well as Indianapolis. And here's a live look outside, and you can see the clouds are firmly in place. And as we go over to the satellite picture, that firmly confirms that as well. They're starting to break apart across parts of Illinois where they actually still have quite a bit of dense fog here this morning, with the clouds trapping all that moisture in. As we expand out, you can see, though, the clouds extend further out. Here's a storm system that will not impact us. We're just kind of stuck in a rut here weather-wise across the area with the cloudy forecast and also the chilly forecast. We'll go down a couple more degrees here this morning before we see our temperatures start to climb, but we just top off once again in the mid to upper 30s across the area, which is seasonable for this time of year. It's nothing abnormal. The problem is it just doesn't feel all that good, Lauren, without the sunshine that'll be out there throughout the day today.
All right, Todd, thank you. We're keeping a close eye on traffic this morning. Pretty quiet out there at this early hour. This is I-65 near Raymond Street. This is south of the downtown area. You can see traffic here is pretty quiet this morning, going northbound and southbound on the interstate. We'll keep you updated if there are any trouble spots you need to avoid.
Thanks, Lauren. Well, now to the latest on the spread of COVID-19 here in Indiana. The State Department of Health reporting another spike in coronavirus deaths. 142 new deaths were reported Tuesday, though some of those date back to the end of November. 800,292 Hoosiers have died with the virus since the pandemic began. More than 3,400 new cases were also reported. Indiana has now recorded more than 533,000 total cases so far. And this afternoon, we expect to learn more about Indiana's next steps to distribute the COVID-19 vaccine. That will happen in the governor's weekly update, Lauren.
Yeah, and Megan, so far, healthcare workers, residents in long-term care facilities, and first responders are the only groups that have been able to get the shot. But some pregnant healthcare workers are concerned about if the vaccine is safe for them. We spoke with Ascension St. Vincent OBGYN, who says that she's gotten a lot of those questions. Pregnant women were not included in the clinical trials for the Moderna or the Pfizer vaccine, so there's only limited data at this time. But the doctor says that pregnancy does put women in that higher risk category.
We do know that our pregnant moms are at higher risk of severe versions of COVID-19. They're more likely to be hospitalized. They're more likely to go through respiratory failure or require a ventilator. And unfortunately, even at higher risk of death from COVID-19. When the time comes that you are offered the vaccine, you really need to sit down and have a conversation with your obstetric provider about what your personal risks are, what that benefit from the vaccine would be, and to make that personalized decision at that time.
Well, she says the bottom line for pregnant women or women who are considering getting pregnant is this: avoid gatherings, follow guidelines to stay safe, and stop the spread.
Lauren, you can now take an FDA-authorized COVID-19 test from the comfort of your own home. Right now, anyone can order it on Amazon. The Food and Drug Administration gave the emergency use authorization for the dexterity test last month. One kit is currently available for $110, or you can get a 10-pack for $1,000. $1,000. The box includes an empty tube for saliva to be sent to the Los Angeles-based lab with prepaid shipping. According to Amazon's website, the turnaround time is between 24 to 72 hours after the sample is received.
A new effort hopes to ensure that no Hoosier goes hungry. It's now delivering food to those in need. Gleaners is partnering with other community leaders to bring meals directly into homes. It's an emergency option that should only be used if a person is quarantining with COVID or has no transportation. Gleaner says the program has already served 28,000 households right here in Marion County.
Work with Indie Hunger Network to kind of field and man all of those calls. We work with Second Helpings because they provide prepackaged and frozen meals for people. We work with 913 Sports, and there are boots on the ground delivering.
So for more information on Gleaner's delivery option, you can go to the WRTV News app and just click on that story.
WRTV Investigates is looking into complaints about stimulus checks going into the wrong bank accounts. We've received multiple messages from Hoosiers about the issue, and we learned this is happening to some families who filed for their 2019 taxes with H&R Block. Now that includes Ashley Gahagan. She tells WRTV she tried to reach out to the company.
They said that they had a high volume of calls, and so they're not taking any calls. We still don't have our money. And from my understanding, there's a ton of people that this has happened to, and nobody really knows how to handle it or the next steps to take to try to get their money. And it's kind of caught in a middleman.
H&R Block says the IRS determines where second stimulus payments are sent. In some cases, money has gone to a different account than the first payment that went out last spring. The company says if the IRS Get My Payment website displays an account number that you do not recognize, give them a call. H&R Block's number is 1-800-HR-BLOCK. But as you heard, some customers are having a hard time getting through. You can find out the status of your stimulus payment at irs.gov/EIP. And you can find all this information right now on the WRTV app.
Well, this morning, a potentially dire situation for thousands of Hoosiers. People in households all across the state could find themselves evicted and homeless. And this all centers around a controversial move involving the governor and a bill that he vetoed. WRTV's own Stephanie Wade explains what's at stake.
We are very concerned that an override of SCA 148 would result in increased evictions and homelessness that would negatively impact Hoosiers' public health.
The Hoosier Housing Needs Coalition is worried. Last legislative session, Governor Eric Holcomb vetoed Bill SEA 148 that would overrule any local city ordinance having to do with landlord-tenant relations, saying it was overly broad and prevented almost any type of local control on issues like evictions.
It would expand the process for expedited evictions, allowing less opportunity for negotiation or voluntary relocation and leading to greater homelessness.
It was the only bill the governor vetoed last year and only the second veto of his entire tenure. But discussions of a potential override by the General Assembly this year could happen with almost no prior notice or opportunity for public discussion.
Before the COVID pandemic was upon us, Indiana had a housing affordability problem. Indiana had an eviction problem.
According to eviction data, Fort Wayne, Indianapolis, and South Bend are all within the top 20 major cities with the highest eviction filing rates. Indianapolis is second only to New York City in the number of court-ordered evictions.
What we have seen over several recent General Assemblies is only one side being heard, the industry, which has resulted in the passage of legislation which has pushed Indiana's housing laws to be overwhelmingly in the landlord's favor.
Over 2 million Hoosiers rent in our state. That's 3 in 10 households statewide. And eviction makes it much more difficult to find quality housing or receive rental assistance, especially for the most vulnerable.
Since March of 2020, there's been a 102% increase in domestic violence deaths compared to the same time last year. And this directly can be attributed to COVID-19 due to an increase in economic stressors, isolation, alcohol consumption, and firearms.
Doctors also say children's well-being relies on stable housing.
Studies have shown that homelessness and housing insecurity increase the risk for medical problems such as ear infections, respiratory infections, and asthma, scabies, and lice. Much of this risk comes from families being forced into transient living situations, homeless shelters.
These are hardworking Hoosiers. These are responsible Hoosiers that had their livelihoods impacted through no fault of their own. During a national health emergency, it's the wrong time to roll back or restrict local rental protections.
Stephanie Wade, WRTV.
Results coming in overnight for Georgia's decisive runoff races. Coming up, the latest on the vote count and candidates that could make history. Todd.
And Megan, there's a storm system off to our west, bringing snow and rain to parts of Minnesota, down into Nebraska, and even into Kansas. Not very far away from central Indiana, but the good news is it's not heading in our direction. Unfortunately, though, we are locked in with the cloud cover. We'll break down your forecast for you coming up when Good Morning Indiana continues right here on WRTV.
Insulation.
Welcome back. So votes continue to be counted in the runoff election for Georgia's U.S. Senate seats.
ABC News now projects Democrat Raphael Warnock as the winner in one of the races. But as ABC's Elizabeth Schulze tells us, the other race is still too close to call.
This morning, Democrats one step closer to taking control of the U.S. Senate. ABC News now projects Democratic challenger Reverend Raphael Warnock will defeat Republican incumbent Senator Kelly Loeffler in one of Georgia's runoff races.
And every day I'm in the United States Senate, I will fight for you.
Warnock is a prominent black preacher at Ebenezer Baptist Church in Atlanta, a pulpit that once belonged to Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. In a victory speech, Warnock acknowledged his historic role as Georgia's first black elected senator.
I come before you tonight as a man who knows that the improbable journey that led me to this place in this historic moment in America could only happen here.
But his opponent, a staunch ally of President Trump, not giving in.
We have a path to victory, and we're staying on it. That's right.
The other race between Democrat John Ossoff and Republican David Perdue remains too close to call, separated by just a couple thousand votes. Democrats need to win both seats to flip the Senate.
This was a political earthquake in Georgia. It leaves Democrats with the very real possibility of taking control of the Senate for the first 2 years of Joe Biden's term, and it punctures the myth of infallibility, of unbeatability that President Trump has created inside the Republican Party.
President Trump has been a constant presence in the election here, chastising the state's election officials and claiming without evidence the November votes were rigged. Some Republicans fear the president's claims may have suppressed GOP turnout.
After the election for the president, it was just kind of like, wow, did our vote count?
Election officials here in Georgia say the final results could come this afternoon, but they're also giving a reminder that candidates can request a recount if the results are within a margin of 0.5%. Elizabeth Schulze, ABC News, Atlanta.
The time right now is 4:45. 2020 saw a record turnout for voters, and research shows that the more informed you are, the more likely you are to get out and vote. So to help voters find that information, they are looking for healthcare worker Kelly Reardon and her friend. They started a business called WeWillDecide.com. The site tracks all the bills and the laws that have been voted on in the past and are still pending.
The biggest feature of the site is being able to vote alongside your representatives, your senators, voting on all the same bills that they vote on, and then getting a calculated percentage of agreement between yourself and not only your representatives, but every single congressperson, every single one.
So you can also use a search engine to find specific representatives or topics like guns, abortion, or COVID. And right now, WeDecide.com is free to join, but they'll add a small monthly fee after President's Day in February.
Lauren, American Airlines is changing its service animal policy. Starting next week, the company will no longer allow emotional support animals. The change is being made to comply with regulations from the Department of Transportation. The DOT defines a service animal as a dog that, quote, is trained to do work or perform tasks for the benefit of a qualified individual with a disability. American says starting January 11th, it won't allow travel for animals that don't meet that definition. Existing bookings will be honored for the rest of the month, but no later than that. Time now is 4:47, and Todd, it looks like it might be another cloudy day.
Yeah, it's going to be another cloudy day here. It'd be nice to maybe just get on an airplane and fly south to some palm trees somewhere warmer if you are doing that, because we are locked in with just this quiet weather pattern. And when it's going to be quiet, we'd rather it be quiet and sunny, right, than quiet and cloudy. But unfortunately, not the case here. No major storm systems heading our way, though. That is the good news, at least going forward, as we don't really have any precipitation, honestly, in this forecast until maybe the middle of next week. And temperatures are going to be seasonable in the mid to upper 30s. But it's not as nice when it's seasonable when the clouds are around compared to when the sun is out. But we get stuck in these patterns sometimes in the winter months, and you can see all the clouds here as you look off to the west. Your temperature outside right now in Indianapolis, officially at the airport, 33 degrees. Yesterday we had to contend with the wind. We do not have to worry about the wind here this morning. It's very light, and as a result, we do not have to factor in any real field temperatures for you. Everybody's hovering within a couple degrees of each other. We're all in the same air mass. We're all stuck under this blanket of clouds. 32 right now in Martinsville and Bedford. 32 in Tipton. Richmond, just a couple degrees below freezing right now at 30 degrees. As we work our way throughout the day today, just like yesterday, with the lack of sunshine and that northwesterly wind direction, temperatures really just don't do much at all. We'll be in the 20s here this morning, and then eventually climbing up into the mid-30s as we get into the afternoon hours. Now, there is a storm system off to our west, but this is not going to impact us here in central Indiana. Typically, at times, a lot of these storms move from west to east. This is not going to do that. So that's why we are going to keep the forecast dry for you throughout the next couple days. Overnight tonight, going back down into the 20s, and then for the day tomorrow, cloudy, cloudy, cloudy in all your day parts here with temperatures that will be in the mid-30s. And then going forward even further, when we finally start to see a change, it's not going to be during the day on Thursday. Still lots of clouds around, 36 degrees. Friday, the clouds, I do think will start to decrease a little bit throughout the afternoon. And I think we're still on track on Saturday to bring in the sunshine across the area. And then once we get to the sunshine on Saturday, it's with us on Sunday, and it looks like into much of next week. So we just got to be a little bit patient here with the cloudy days ahead, but no major storm systems in the forecast. Maybe by Tuesday into Wednesday, a weak little system will head our way. But until then, pretty seasonable across the area. Lauren.
All right, Todd, thanks so much. Let's take a look at traffic as you're heading out on the roads this Wednesday morning. This is a live look from our INDOT traffic camera at I-465 near Michigan Road up on the north side, where everything is traveling up to speed. No crashes, no delays at this hour to slow down your morning commute. Megan.
Thanks, Lauren. Well, the 63rd Grammy Awards will not be happening later this month as scheduled. The Best in Music Awards show has been postponed because of the pandemic. The event was set for January 31st at the Los Angeles Staples Center. Talk show host Trevor Noah will be the Grammys host. The Recording Academy said CBS and the show's producers are rescheduling for March 14th. So put that in your calendar. It cited an increase in COVID cases and hospitalizations in Southern California as a big factor in the decision. And this year's top nominees are Beyonce, Dua Lipa, Roddy Ricch, and Taylor Swift.
And the 2020 Heisman ceremony was unlike others. It was virtual, but that didn't diminish the celebration for the winner. Alabama wide receiver Devontae Smith took home the trophy last night. Smith was one of 4 finalists and is the first wide receiver to take home this honor since 1991. He broke school, SEC conference, and national records all season long, and he's also on his way to being named college football's most outstanding player. Smith's win was also recognized on the Empire State Building. The famous tower lit up in red and white to celebrate this announcement. Smith and the Crimson Tide still have one more game this season, playing for the college football championship. They'll play Ohio State on Monday night.
Lauren, a special honor for the officers who evacuated residents before the Nashville bombing. A look at the newly compiled mural after the break.
And today, Congress will gather to certify the 2020 presidential election. This as some Republicans voice their objection. Coming up at 5 o'clock, what this means and how our local representatives plan to vote. It is 4:52. Stick around. Good Morning, Indiana. We'll be right back after this short break. 55, a touching honor for the heroic first responders at the Nashville bombing.
Yeah, Lauren, a mural of the 6 officers is now complete. It adorns the business that was directly affected. The 6 officers saved countless lives by rushing to clear the area ahead of the blast early Christmas morning. And more than 40 businesses were damaged in the process. That includes the Hard Rock Cafe, where the artwork now hangs. The artwork will have to be taken down during repairs, but it'll be given a permanent home inside the restaurant when work is complete. Time now is 4:56. Let's get a look at the weather with Todd. Hey, Todd.
All right. The one thing I think that jumps out at you here on your 7-day planning forecast is the lack of any precipitation. It's going to be a dry stretch of weather for us here going forward throughout the next couple days. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, though, features lots of cloud cover. And then once we get into Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday, more in the way of sunshine in the forecast. But temperatures, they don't really move much at all. We'll stay in the mid to upper 30s throughout the course of the entire 7-day planning forecast, with low temperatures that will be in the 20s. Those temperatures pretty seasonable for this time of year. The time now is 4:57. You're watching Good Morning Indiana right here on WRTV. Stay with us. Raphael joins the ladies and I coming up in just a couple minutes.